and they had to just hide it. But we all knew, and they didn't admit it to us. It's another level of lying. It's another level of betrayal. It's another level of, sorrow for them, all of it. It's like,
happens. That's okay. That's okay to change your mind, or that's okay to meet somebody else and fall in.
I see myself fulfilling my dreams of travel with a husband who is totally supportive of what I'm doing and totally my cheerleader. That's what.
You won't believe the tea we're spilling today. From secret breakups to shocking lies, this is Unreal Tea. Hit subscribe before the drama starts. Welcome, everyone. Sister Wives viewers, prepare yourselves. A storm is brewing, one that's going to blow the well-coiffed public image of Meri Brown wide open. In mere weeks, Kody Brown-Woolley's tell-all memoir is being released, and sources say it doesn't pull any punches. But here's the rub, Meri isn't waiting patiently. She's been dropping cryptic statements, launching self-help mantras, and dancing around her past like a woman haunted by ghosts she can't quite silence. Why now? What is she so afraid Kody will reveal? And most importantly, why are Kody's daughters completely cutting Meri out of their lives? You're about to enter the most dramatic chapter yet in the Sister Wives saga. We're discussing off-the-record abuse claims, off-stage parenting horror tales, kids who refer to Meri as an abuser, and a community torn apart over who should get redemption and who shouldn't. Today, we dig up what actually transpired between Kody and Meri, and why the truth might finally be too large, too hurtful, and too incriminating to remain buried. Because the Sister Wives world isn't just about plural marriages and awkward family dinners, it's about loyalty, trauma, and betrayal. And the terrifying possibility that the past will always catch up with you. Kody Brown-Woolley isn't just moving on, she's making waves. Her long-anticipated memoir is set to be released this September, and fans are already speculating about the bombshells it might contain. But there's one name that keeps resurfacing time and time again, Meri Brown. When Kody comes forward with her truth, Meri appears to be falling further and further into defense mode, hiding behind vague Instagram lives, self-help jargon, and suspiciously timed philosophical musings. Their dynamic has always been complicated, even hostile. Kody has made it clear, she wants nothing to do with Meri, and the reason, according to Kody, stems from how Meri treated her and her children. On camera, we've only gotten glimpses. But behind the scenes? Allegations swirl that Meri mocked Kody, shamed her, and, worst of all, treated her children with hostility that crossed a line Kody could no longer ignore. The disclosures aren't new, but they're getting louder. Kody already testified in Becoming Sister Wives about Meri becoming too aggressive with a couple of her kids. Kody had to stop her in her tracks, telling Meri never to discipline or even parent her children again. And she didn't stand alone. The Brown kids, now grown, are more and more vocal about what they went through. Maddie has openly called Meri an abuser. McKelty doesn't want any contact. And Peyton? He's come out and said Meri's abuse extended far beyond words. From his perspective, if the public actually knew what went on, Sister Wives would have long been cancelled. But Meri's remained silent. There's been no apology, no actual acknowledgement, only deflection. Rather, she's created a brand called Worthy Up, offering herself as a symbol of healing, of strength, and of empowerment. And yet to many, it comes across as hollow and hypocritical. Particularly when, in videos, Meri says she doesn't want to speak to others about how to grieve or about how to heal, when her whole platform is predicated on doing just that. There was one video that caught my eye. Meri sort of confessed to being a hard parent, without dealing with any of the very particular and public grievances leveled against her. She alluded to her history, her childhood trauma, and her passage through therapy. And although it's valuable to know one's background, most viewers couldn't help but get the sense that Meri was employing her wounds as a defense instead of making a genuine apology. The nature of polygamous cultures, and specifically high control religious cultures, is that abuse percolates down. The victim becomes the victimizer. Those who were powerless to take power over those yet more powerless. In this scenario, the children. And in that order, Meri had significant power. As the first wife, she wasn't merely a spouse, she was an enforcer, a gatekeeper. But with that authority went a legacy that Kody and her children now repudiate. In its entirety. So why hasn't Meri confronted these charges directly? Why hasn't she labeled what she did? Why hasn't she said, "This is how I hurt these kids, and I'm sorry"? One explanation is straightforward: image control. Women in such communities are trained to guard the illusion. For decades, they've been told to sanitize the truth, to make polygamy look good, to defend their husbands, and to never show weakness. But Christine is breaking that rule now, and Meri may be terrified. Let's be honest, Christine's upcoming book might be the most honest, unfiltered look into the dysfunction of the Brown family we've ever seen. And if Christine does go there, to actually reveal the whole story, Meri can be revealed in ways she never expected. Perhaps that's why Meri continues to make veiled jabs. She's quietly undermining Christine without mentioning her name. She's suddenly throwing around the phrase "no one should tell someone how to grieve," a probable swipe at Christine's emotional process in the book. It's a passive-aggressive dance, the one that yells fear. And the kids? They're not dancing around something. Christine has verified that McKelty doesn't include Meri in family gatherings. That's not shade, that's a boundary. A wall. A very vocal message that forgiveness has not been earned and may never be. What actually went down between McKelty and Meri? The series has never really explored beneath the surface, but viewers think that perhaps Christine will finally shed some light on that dark period. And if she does, if Christine ultimately speaks the truth that so many have merely spoken in hushed tones, then there might be no going back for Meri. The tragedy here isn't necessarily the ruined relationships or the secrets that are buried. It's the lost chance for healing. Meri can come forward, admit the harm she inflicted, apologize, and start repairing the damage. But what happens instead is that she hides behind hashtags and platitudes. And every day she does not use her voice, the silence of the children grows louder. Both Christine and Meri are attempting to make something new of the ruins. Christine does so using her platform to make a positive difference. Meri uses hers to monetize self-esteem. But ultimately, the distinction could be transparency. Christine's willing to claim her scars. Meri appears still to conceal hers. Perhaps that is the reason Christine's book is so frightening for Meri. Because once the truth is published, once it exists, there is no longer any evading. No more sidestepping the past. Just the unvarnished, unflinching truth of what actually transpired behind closed doors. And maybe that is the most Sister Wives thing of all. The reality was never marriage. It was power. And now the women are getting it back, story by story. What are you guessing Christine is going to spill in her book? Do you think Meri should speak truthfully about what happened in the past, or is she justified in keeping quiet? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for more bombshell deep dives into the world of Sister Wives. The truth is on its way, and it's louder than ever before. Christine's memoir sparks panic. What is Meri Brown hiding from Sister Wives fans? Christine Brown isn't merely writing a memoir, she's setting off a fuse. And the drama in the Brown family is at a boiling point. With each passing day, the silence regarding Meri Brown is becoming increasingly suspect as we move towards the September release of Christine's explosive tell-all memoir. Every social media update, every live stream, and every motivational post from Meri sounds increasingly less like inspiration and more like deflection. She's constructing a wall of optimism around herself, smiling for the camera, and telling followers to worthy up, and lecturing on personal empowerment, but behind that carefully constructed facade is something fragile. Something terrified. And supporters are paying attention. Because the more loudly Christine asserts herself in reclaiming her truth, the more quietly Meri seems to go. As though she knows whatever Christine is about to reveal is going to hurt. And this time? The cameras won't be there to spin the narrative. We're seeing a very calculated shift in Meri's behavior. She's no longer actively defending herself, but she's not owning anything either. It's like she's holding her breath, waiting for the axe to fall. And with Christine dropping subtle hints that her book will feature previously unknown truths, speculation is running rampant that Meri's history of parenting, her strained relationships with Christine's children, and the unresolved trauma behind the scenes will finally be revealed. Let's be real, this isn't a matter of bruised egos or a few sharp words uttered in frustration. It's about painful emotional wounds. Trauma that spans generations. And adults who were once kids are coming forward with histories that depict Meri as more than the authoritarian mom of the family. Histories with names, faces, and wounds. Take Peyton, for instance. He didn't merely imply Meri was violent, he insisted that what went down behind closed doors would have had the show cancelled. If it ever got out. That's not hyperbole. That's a warning sign. And yet, Meri still has not confronted those accusations directly. Rather, she relies on therapy lingo. I was strict. I was managing my own hurt. I don't shame myself for who I was. But these aren't admissions. They're armor. Highly polished stories to guard the reputation of Meri Brown, intrepid survivor, while glossing over her part in others' pain. Missing is the truth. The truth that Christine may now be prepared to reveal. There's a reason that this is such a pivotal moment. Because Meri's worthy up revolution isn't just some personal mantra, it's a business. A brand. A rebranding of a woman who, for years, had been portrayed as lonely, bitter, and ultimately left by the husband she married. Now, she'd like to be the face of healing. The face of self-worth. But that face is only possible if nobody uncovers too much. And Christine? She's not only digging. She's publishing the whole dig. If Christine makes the decision to include any information on what McKelty has been through, or why so many of her kids now won't even mention Meri's name, it might destroy Meri's new story completely. Because you can't instruct folks on how to achieve self-worth while quietly avoiding the individuals you might have contributed to ruining. What's more insidious, though, is the trend. When Sister Wives was on the air during its first few seasons, Meri was already familiar to fans as a mood-storming, controlling individual. But nobody witnessed those intimate moments. The ones the children recall. The ones that trouble them enough to come forward publicly, years later, in spite of the culture of silence they grew up in. Meri's not directly responding to the abuse. Claims isn't only a PR issue, it's an ethical one. Particularly when you think about the fact that the people accusing her aren't anonymous faces on the internet. They're her relatives. Her ex-stepchildren. The people she used to insist upon loving as her own. And yet, she's never apologized. Never taken a seat and explained, here is what I did. Here's how I harmed them. And here is how I'm working to do better. Instead, she takes filtered photos with motivational quotes. She speaks of self-improvement and empowerment. But empowerment without responsibility is ego. And in this instance, that ego might destroy her. Meanwhile, Christine is embracing wholeheartedly her truth. She's not faking that she knows it all. She's not marketing a brand. She's just sharing her story, messy, painful, and raw. And that honesty is resonating. Fans believe her. Her daughters believe her. And perhaps, just perhaps, the world will finally hear the whole truth. So what's next? Will Meri finally answer when the book comes out? Will she double down on silence, or will she finally confront the charges that have dogged her for years? Because the clock is ticking. And in this new era of Sister Wives, silence isn't just suspicious. It's damning. The calm before the storm. Secrets of Meri Brown no longer protected as Christine's memoir waits behind the consistent, smiling Instagram feeds, behind the healing retreats and sparkly motivational messages. Something in Meri Brown's life has changed, and not in the way she is asserting. The fans are paying attention, and most are saying the same thing. Meri is terrified. Not openly, not in tears or breakdowns. But in her forced smiles, her hasty captions, and her steadfast refusal to comment directly on anything related to Christine's new memoir, there is a feeling of foreboding that clings to her. The reality is, Christine isn't publishing a book. She's publishing decades of suppressed hurt that might put a spotlight on moments TLC cameras intentionally avoided capturing, glossed over, or presented with somber music and family harmony. But audiences aren't so gullible anymore. They've watched episodes again with smarter eyes and peeked behind the curtain from interviews, leaked videos, and podcast remarks. And now, they're making connections. For Meri, this is precarious. Because for years, her public persona has been constructed as the first wife who held her ground, the hurt one who still stood up for Kody even when he emotionally left her behind. What if the narrative turns around, though? What if Christine's memoir doesn't only paint Meri as a co-victim but also as part of the system that perpetrated harm? That's the danger. That's why fans claim she's falling back behind performative optimism. And believe me, fans are discussing Reddit threads, YouTube analysis, comment sections on Instagram everywhere. People are analyzing Meri's actions. Some remember the way Meri treated Christine coldly in early seasons, frequently aligning herself with Kody even as he belittled Christine's autonomy. Others note how Meri was standoffish towards the children, particularly those who failed to fall in line. And then came Peyton's bombshell revelations. Where many initially waved his words off as drama or bitterness, time has served only to make his accusations more credible. Especially now that Christine is sitting down to put pen to paper. If even half of what Peyton hinted at surfaces in Christine's memoir, details of aggression, emotional intimidation, or brutal cruelty, it won't hurt Meri's reputation just a little bit. It could smash it. Already, the seeds of suspicion are blooming. Fans who used to sympathize with Meri are now asking tough questions. Why hasn't she admitted the pain? Why is her brand so much about self-development and self-worth, yet so lacking in accountability? And worst of all, is Meri using therapy language to conceal from confronting the past? Even some of her most devoted followers are slowly distancing themselves. Glowing comments once suffused with, "We love you, Meri," now resonate with unease. I hope you can really confront what transpired. Healing means owning your part, too. I used to admire you, but now, I'm not so sure. Meanwhile, Christine's silence is louder than anything Meri says. No threats, no drama, just the promise of a story from her truth. That's what terrifies Meri. Because a woman with nothing to lose is a woman who won't hold back. And don't forget the kids, those grown adults now who lived through the early years of Sister Wives and may well be gearing up to give their own accounts of what happened. Gwen Brown already has done so. Paydon made his position known. What if Michael T. or Aspen come forward? What if the boys begin speaking? Meri's hard-won public image can topple in one podcast appearance or video clip. The TLC empire itself is waiting with bated breath to see this play out. Steadily distancing itself, experimenting with spin-offs, providing extra air for Janelle and Christine, while discreetly reducing Meri's screen time. It's a quiet sidestep away from responsibility. Because once the memoir is on the shelves, the network must have plausible deniability. We didn't know, they'll insist. We promote healing. But they did know. We all did. The warning signs were there. Christine's truth versus Meri's silence. The family secrets no one dared to speak. Christine Brown isn't going away, and the closer her book comes to publication, the more vulnerable Meri Brown's life appears. Meri spent decades building a reputation as a tough woman. With her LuLaRoe live streams and Worthy Up weekends, she's painted herself as a woman who overcame heartbreak, constructed independence, and emerged the stronger for it. But now that Christine is stepping up with unvarnished truth, the cracks in Meri's facade are beginning to appear. Because Meri didn't merely survive polygamy, she mandated it. And what Christine is possibly about to expose isn't merely about Kody's favoritism or Robyn's manipulation. It might be about Meri's active complicity in facilitating the culture that emotionally traumatized many of the Brown children. 1. Word keeps ringing out across fan communities and social media posts: complicity. When Peyton made a complaint regarding Meri's treatment of the children, it wasn't ambiguous. It was precise, it was uncomfortable, and it felt true to a lot of viewers who had long intuited that something was amiss behind those tightly produced TLC shows. The vision of Meri, strict, stiff, and frequently withdrawing from the rest of the family, suddenly became more sinister in tone. And still, Meri has been strangely quiet. No official denial. No apology. No response to the claims. Rather, she locks herself into motivational mantras and Instagram affirmations. She directs her fans to embrace discomfort, to let go of pain, and to choose worthiness, but does not address the discomfort or pain that she might have inflicted on others. Now Christine wields the pen. And the silence is oppressive. As per leaks from insiders who are privy to the publishing deal, Christine's memoir does not simply cover her marriage with Kody. It gets at the whole Brown family ecosystem of toxicity, of favoritism, of complicity, of silence, and it gets at what it was like to be made smaller not only by a husband but also by sister wives who were meant to have her back. And yes, names get named. If Meri is named, and all indications are that she's a key player in Christine's emotional drama, this might be the point where everything comes undone. Because once it's out there in print, there's no unsaying it. No cutting it from TV. No masking. Behind reality TV's tastefully filtered distortions. And then there's the money. Meri's brand, Worthy Up, is her saving grace after Kody. It's how she relaunched herself. It's her company. Her identity. But what's the effect when fans begin to equate that brand with unresolved trauma? What's the effect when Christine's narrative starts to seep into the perception of Meri's inspirational empire? One former LuLaRoe member who went to Meri's retreats incognito shared with a YouTuber last week, "It always felt like she was running from something." She spoke a lot about forgiveness but never mentioned what she needed to be forgiven for. That line stings. Because the thing is, Meri's silence isn't therapeutic. It's evasiveness. And if Christine's book makes the connection between Meri's strict parenting and lasting emotional damage, particularly to the children Christine attempted to protect, it may forever alter the way fans perceive the early seasons of Sister Wives. The quaint romance of one big polygamous family will be a hard reminder of all that didn't get said. The stakes are rising, and the Brown family is aware of it. When silence breaks, Christine's daughters rally, TLC panics, and Meri can't run forever. The drama within the Brown family is no longer personal, it's nuclear. And at the center is Christine, standing strong with pen in hand and ready to rewrite the script that TLC so lovingly constructed for more than a decade. But now, she's not by herself. Her daughters, particularly Michael T., Aspen, and Isabel, aren't only backing her for speaking out. They're gearing up for war. They've seen their mother make it through decades of emotional abuse and favoritism. And they're not going to stand by while she walks into the storm alone. Each live Q&A, each podcast guest spot, and each thoughtful tweet, they're quietly but unmistakably positioning themselves as champions of truth, even if it means burning down the old Brown family legend in the process. One of Christine's daughters is even assisting with fact-checking portions of the manuscript, offering updates, specific memories, and context from the children's perspective. That's no small feat. It means this book might not be only Christine's voice. It might be the first time the Browns' next generation fully pulls back the curtain on what went down in that family, way beyond what TLC ever put on television. And TLC is quietly freaking out. Why? Because if Christine's book refutes the network's years-long mythology or reveals things they specifically avoided showing on television, they may be in more trouble than embarrassment. They may be experiencing a credibility meltdown. The reality TV machine relies on audience trust. Even in a show that is dramatic, there has to be some emotional arc audiences feel they are buying into. But if Christine is able to demonstrate that key scenes were edited to benefit specific wives, or that abuse and emotional manipulation were marginalized for the sake of ratings, fans won't simply reject the show, they'll reject the network. Already, TikToks and Reddit threads have started to break down past episodes with a new perspective. Fans are rewatching Season 3, Season 6, and those early Flagstaff episodes, looking for hints. Who was sobbing off camera? Who avoided eye contact when Robyn entered the room? What instances seem staged now? And one name keeps appearing in these deep fan dives, Meri. Not because she's the villain, but because she remained quiet. When Peyton Brown revealed his discomfort with Meri's behavior during their childhood, many fans were willing to give her the benefit of the doubt until she refused to address it. That silence has become louder with every passing week. And now, with Christine's memoir poised to give her version of that same time period, Meri is out of time. If she waits until the book drops, it's too late. Her narrative will be reactive, not proactive. And fans can smell damage control from a mile away. What makes this even more complicated is Meri's recent online behavior. In the past month, she's posted cryptic captions about being misunderstood, choosing love over conflict, and not needing to prove yourself to anyone. On the surface, it sounds like standard empowerment talk. But viewers are beginning to notice these threads as thinly veiled pre-defenses, as if Meri anticipates the storm to break and she's attempting to take higher moral ground first. But moral high ground does not stand in silence. The nagging question for viewers today is this one: if Christine's truth identifies Meri as a party to the emotional abuse Christine and her children suffered, will Meri finally break silence? Or will she allow her reputation to crumble in the face of not taking part? There's something very troubling in seeing someone dance around accountability with aphorisms about healing and growth when true healing starts with admitting hurt, not hiding it. And Christine's daughters aren't going to let anyone forget that. Sources close to the Brown family say that several of the girls, particularly Mykelti and Isabel, feel that Meri's silence is unforgivable. Especially after watching their brother Peyton publicly take the heat for saying what they all lived through. The bond between Christine and her daughters has grown even tighter and more resilient. And this memoir, for them, isn't just a book. It's justice. And justice rarely leaves everyone standing. And then there was the silence. Ghostly, empty. Silence from Meri Brown's camp, even as Christine's book and interviews ran around the world like wildfire. The deafening contrast: Christine, with wide eyes, tears, exposed, and open, sat under studio lights, reading chapters aloud that called out names and struck home, while Meri, the voice of courage, somehow seemed to withdraw completely into the background. Followers who had watched her live streams, her cryptic posts on Instagram, and her writing retreats all sensed something had gone black. And while the memoir was cathartic for Christine, it also brought attention, too much, maybe. The media storm was unrelenting. Paparazzi descended upon her residence, reporters knocked on doors of old friends, and online trolls scanned every episode of Sister Wives for inconsistencies. Christine's older daughters, particularly Aspen and Mykelti, had originally posted affirmations but then inexplicably backed off. No remarks. No pictures. Just nothing. Did they know something? Were they defending someone or themselves? Meanwhile, a subtle shift on the social media scene was occurring, a slow, growing tide of silent support for Meri. Posts under her old photos began filling with comments like, "You didn't deserve this," and "We're starting to see it now, Meri." Even those who had once criticized her began to question the timeline. Christine's memoir, though powerful, was not just about her, it was about all of them, including Meri. And some felt that her silence was not avoidance but protection. A choice. One born of deeper wounds than we'd seen on screen. Then came the leak. A podcast host with industry ties claimed to have received a private recording, allegedly a phone call between Meri and a close friend. In it, a voice said to be Meri's could be heard sobbing, repeating phrases like, "They lied to all of us," and "I should have known what the favoritism would cost." The voice never named names, but the inference was chilling. The post was taken down within hours, but not before it was downloaded, mirrored, and circulated in underground fan communities. Robyn Brown, who had remained largely quiet since season 19 went on the air, suddenly broke her social media silence. She shared one story on Instagram, a black screen with the words, "We all lived the same story." Others simply edited it differently. Was it a snipe at Christine? A defense of herself? A cry for Meri? No one knew. What then ensued was a surreal spin of internet activity. Robyn deleted almost all of her Instagram highlights. Christine shut off comments on her new post. Meri shared a black and white picture of an empty bench near a lake, with no caption. And Janelle? Quiet. But this wasn't the end of the story. TLC producers were spotted in Flagstaff once more. Whispers of a post-memoir special circulated. Fan sites buzzed with speculation. Would Christine face legal threats for her book? Would Meri finally come on camera with her side of the story? Was Robyn planning a countersuit? And then, from the depths of YouTube, a vintage unreleased interview with Meri emerged, shot almost 3 years previously but never shown. In it, Meri declared, "I've kept quiet about a lot. Too much, maybe. But silence is what people expect of women who hurt." Those words now rang with fresh meaning, context, and power. Fans saved that clip and reposted it on various platforms with messages such as, "Meri was never the villain. We just didn't see her script." And so here we sit. Christine has spoken. Robyn has responded. Meri has recused herself. And the public? Still split. Still ravenous. Still waiting. Because when the truth does ultimately emerge, it never does so gently. This family's drama is far from over, so smash like if you're #TeamWives, subscribe for the next explosive update, and drop a comment below. Who do you think will win? Stay shady, stay curious. And I'll see you in the next scandal. Kiss mark. Behind TLC Sister Wives out.